Welcome to the 2021 Indiana Black Expo Minority Small Business Series presented by KeyBank. Today's webinar topic is a deep dive into the value of business certification. My name is Deborah Oates. I'm President and CEO of Nubian Transport Management, Nubian Construction Group, and I will be your host for this afternoon's session. I would like to thank all of the sponsors and partners for this webinar. Before we start, I have a few housekeeping rules for you. First, if you have a question, please type it in the Q&A box, and we will answer as many as possible before our session ends. Also, toward the end of the session, there will be a link to the session survey in the chat box. We will ask that you fill out the survey to assist us with planning future webinars. The panelists for today's session are Kalisha Mitchell of certification with the State of Indiana Division of Supplier Diversity. And she is the Director of Contract Compliance at the State of Indiana. In this role, Kalisha ensures minority, women, and veteran business owners receive equal opportunity to participate in the state's solicitation opportunities. Kalisha facilitates workshops to aid in business owners in understanding the state's procurement processes and enforces compliance to minority and women business entrepreneurs and Indiana veteran-owned small business programs. She is no stranger to advocating for diverse businesses, having previously served as procurement manager for a multinational third-party logistics company. She earned her MBA from Indiana State University and is currently pursuing her PhD in organizational leadership from Indiana Wesleyan University. Next, we'll have Derek Kaysen. Derek is NDOT DBE Certification and Supportive Services Manager, Economic Opportunity Division. We have next Joe Lee, who is the Contract Compliance Officer, City of Indianapolis. We have Vernice Mathis, Business Opportunity Specialist for the Indiana District Office of Small Business Administration. And we have Luther Taylor, Mid-States Minority Supplier Development Council and MBE Services. We have so much information to share. I would like each panelist to tell the audience about their certification program and how it can be used to help further their business. Afterwards, we'll discuss in detail the similarities and differences in the programs, and then we'll go straight to the Q&A. My first guest is Mr. Luther Taylor Jr. Prior to his current role with Mid-States Minority Supplier Development Council, Luther served over 11 years as a Deputy Director of Certification with IDOA's Office of Supplier Diversity. He has extensive knowledge and experience in supplier diversity, MWBE certification, contract compliance, and procurement. Luther?
Thank you, Debbie, and good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Just 1 second. Technology. So, give you a snapshot of who the National Minority Supplier Development Council is, as well as MidStates. The National Minority Supplier Development Council was chartered in 1972. They are, as well as we are, a private nonprofit member services organization. NMSDC is the nation's most dynamic force in developing successful relationships between America's top corporations and MBEs. They are headquartered in New York, New York. MidStates was established in 1976. We are one of 23 regional affiliates within the National Minority Supplier Development Council. And we certify entities for ethnic minority business interests in doing business with corporate America. We have offices here in Indianapolis as well as St. Louis, Missouri, and our service in serving Central Illinois, excluding Chicago, Indiana, excluding Northwest Indiana, and then Eastern Missouri. Here's a snapshot of who our team is. We have Carolyn Mosley. She is the president and CEO. We have Angela Franklin. She is the executive vice president and operations. We have Danica Thomas. She's the director of corporate relations and projects and events. Myself, director of minority business enterprise services, and then we have Daryl Johnson and James Knight, who runs the Accelerate 100 Plus program. So when people hear about MidStates, they typically hear two different terms. They hear members and they hear constituents. Constituents are going to be the certified MBEs who have at least 51% ownership and control by a company or a minority. They have to be a U.S. citizen, and then their annual certification processing fee based on their annual gross revenues. Corporate members are going to be large corporations who have a purchasing or a supplier diversity program. They're going to have an annual membership fee based on the number of employees. They're going to be non-MBEs, and they're typically going to have several hundreds to thousands of employees. So the next slide is going to show you a partial list of our corporate members. We have about 65 or 66 different corporate members in our territory. So you'll see Citizen Energy Group, to name a few, Eli Lilly, and St. Louis St. Louis Zoo will be a few that are our corporate members. Our constituents would be some of the larger ones are Mace Chemical here in Indianapolis, BC Ford, Telemon, and then we have in St. Louis, Missouri, Worldwide Technology. As I said before, we are 23 councils with throughout 6 regions. So we will be considered in Region 3. And so a council can consist of a state like Chicago and Ohio. It can consist of a city like Chicago, and then it consists of multiple states like MidStates. And then you'll see our service area as far as who we cover. So who should certify with MidStates? You have to be a U.S. citizen and ethnic with an ethnic origin in the following areas: Asian Pacific American, African American, Hispanic, Latino American, Native American, and Asian Indian American. So some of the questions that you may want to ask yourself is, my business ready to be certified? You want to make sure that you're strategic. So make sure that you're getting the certification that's right for you. There's multiple different certifications that you hear about throughout this workshop. You want to make sure that you're doing your research. And I think for me, that's the most important thing, is making sure that you're doing your research to make sure that you're getting the right certification, or do you need to be certified? That's a question that you want to ask yourself, as well as based off of your business motto, is certification going to help you? So you want to make sure that you ask those questions. You want to make sure that you know your strength. You want to make sure that you be prepared as you're looking to see if you're really ready to be certified, and be realistic about what you can do. So our certification process, again, as you hear throughout the workshop, they're all going to be somewhat the same, but there are going to be some differences. But across the board, we're all looking at ownership and control. So as it relates to ownership, at the enterprise must be at least 51% owned. As it relates to us, by an ethnic minority or minorities. So that's the first step. And then governance and control. The majority owner must be the highest office in the company and maintain the documented governance and control of the business. And then we also look at management. So the applicant displays the documented ability to operate or manage the daily operation of the business as well. Our process is 60 days. Based on the time that we get all the requested documentation in based off of our checklist. And then we do have an expedited process that is fee-based, and that's 25 business days. We also have a recertification timeframe. So that's recertification is for 1 year. You'll receive a reminder on the 30, 60, and 90-day timeframe. So you want to make sure that you keep that in mind as well. And there's also the book that we have is the value of the value of diverse business certifications. And so this is a guideline that's actually on our website where we took all the different certifications throughout Indiana and put it in this book and it showed the difference of the certifications. This was just a very high level on our program. I do a pre-certification workshop every third Thursday of the month. That does fall today, but I will be doing it tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So if anyone is interested, I will put my email in the chat and send you the link to that. And that is it. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you. So I've just started that video. So now that you could hear me, Derek, would you please go ahead and provide your presentation? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Debbie. Good afternoon, all. Thanks for attending our certification session this afternoon. Derek Kaysen, DB Certifications Manager for NDOT. NDOT is the sole certifying entity for the DBE program. So we actually provide the DBE list or available DBEs for the entire transit authorities. So that would be Federal Transit, Federal Aviation, Federal Highway. So we certify firms for their interests as well. If you are a minority or woman-owned vendor and you are engaged as a supplier or a subcontractor in the area of construction, where you have the ability to provide products and services to NDOT, Indigo, the Indy Airport, this is a certification that you want to position yourself with. There's no fee for DB certification. The only investment basically is the time required to submit the application. Luther in his earlier presentation alluded to some of the certification standards to be eligible for the DBE program. They are very, very similar for the DBE as well. Some of the differences to point out would be we have an economic disadvantage component. Meaning that this program basically is not intended for millionaires. So there are thresholds that are attached as far as being eligible. Those in the area of economic disadvantaged, as an individual, the owner cannot have a personal net worth over $1.32 million. We actually make that calculation removing their personal residence and any equity in the business. But anything else, all other assets that are associated with that owner are attached and they are calculated toward that analysis. The other one, of course, is small business size. You must be a small business as it is defined by the SBA. So DBEs are certified by what's known as the North American Industry Classification System. So there is a number attached to the actual activity that you perform. And that activity has a limit that's been defined by the SBA. So based on what you're performing, your activity, you have to be a small business that's within that limit. So those are, that's one of the areas where we differ as far as standards. Additionally, to be eligible for the program, the individual can also be a permanent resident. So you have to be a U.S. citizen, or you can be a permanent resident. And I think that differs a little from the other programs as well. Our process happens to be electronic. So we do not accept anything paper nowadays. So your access to the application requires you to go through an NDOT process to actually gain access to the application, but everything that you're going to submit is going to be submitted electronically. As far as the timeline to process your applications, by the rules, we are allowed 90 days to process things. Typically, I have a very efficient staff analyst. If the process is taking 90 days or longer, it's probably due to the applicant not being responsive to any requests. So typically, I mean, we are processing things well under the 90-day process. So, like I said, if you're interested in being a DBE, if you're a supplier, if you're a subcontractor, this is a program that you want to be engaged in. Another important thing to understand, the NDOT market is a very good market as a springboard toward your business growth and development. NDOT as an agency, we've got programming, we've got funding that's going to take place for the next 10 years. So when it comes to construction related opportunities, there are many opportunities within NDOT. And as a vendor, as a minority or woman-owned vendor, this is certainly a certification that you want to position yourself with. That's all I have, Debbie.
Derek, thank you very much. Thank you. So our next presenter is Joe Lee. Prior to joining the Office of Minority and Women Business Development, Joe worked as a buyer for the Office of Finance and Management Purchasing Division. In his role as a buyer, he championed OMWBD's mission, as well as serving the needs for the city in procurement. Joe, you're next.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Indiana Black Expo. Thank you, Keith. And thank all the panelists and thank all of the folks attending today. We appreciate you being here today. Again, as Debbie said, I'm with the City of Indianapolis, the Office of the Mayor, with the Office of Minority and Women Business Development. And a little bit about what we do in certification and folks that use our certification. So we certify those like several other organizations. We certify those in minority, women, veteran, and people with ADA disabilities, or we call it DOBE, Disabled Owned Business Enterprise. Our office asks that you've been in business a minimum of 2 years, but there are some exceptions to that. We always ask that you reach out to us and have that conversation. But certification is at no cost. We ask that you reach out to us, that when you submit your application, just know that we're going to take that deep dive into your business, into you, so that we're sure that we're certifying someone, a company, a business that belongs in the program. So it is important that you make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row and that you know where you're going. And of course, obviously, why you want to be certified. We do ask that once every 3 years that you recertify. And please don't forget that you need to recertify. And so then we asked, what does certification do? And certification allows you to have access to city, county government, wherever the city of Indianapolis, Marion County spends money. We require, the city of Indianapolis requires that the agencies and departments and those that are spending city dollars or those that are given city dollars in some of the various forms, that they try to meet and achieve and or exceed the goals of 15% minority spend, 8% women spend, 3% veteran-owned business spend, and 1% disabled-owned business enterprise spend. So for every dollar that you spend on a project where there's city funds, we want you to use our list of certified vendors and make sure that you try to give them opportunity. So, and we'll talk more about being certified and opportunities. So know that obviously city government uses it, and those organizations, builders, developers, general contractors that have city funds as a part of their project, they use our certification list. But in other cases, we've had some projects that did not have city XBE goals, the 15, 8, 3, and 1. One of them that comes to mind is the 38th and Sheridan project going on right now with Cook Medical and Goodwill Industries. There's no city funds there, but they're using our list of certified XBEs and trying to gain XBE utilization. The upcoming IU Health project is also going to be using folks from our list. And then that everyday thing is the folks, those quasi-government agencies, folks that work with government funding, Indigo, Indianapolis International Airport, Indianapolis Marion County Public Library, Indianapolis Housing Agency, Health and Hospital Corporation. Those are some of the organizations that use our list and give opportunity to those on that list that are certified with our office in giving them opportunity to be a part of contracts either for goods or services. So that's a little bit about the city of Indianapolis. And one other thing is that a lot of people get us confused. So the state of Indiana is the state and the city of Indianapolis is the city, and we're not the same. We are separate entities. Although we do some things that are very, very similar, we are different organizations. So that's all I have to start off.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we will have our next presenter is Vernice Mathis. During her 26 years with the U.S. Small Business Administration, Vernice has had several positions, including Office Automation Specialist and Loan Processing Assistant. She currently serves as a Business Opportunity Specialist for the SBA's Indiana District Office. Vernice.
Hey, Debbie, thank you so much for taking the time out, and I'm glad to be here for the second year to talk about the SBA, which stands for Small Business Administration. We are the only federal agency that has the 8A certification, so that is awesome. That is very awesome. Our goal here with this 8A certification is better known as a business development program. Our job is to help you to learn how to do business with the federal government. So what this program does is a 9-year program with SBA. You will have a certification, which the cost for this is free. So there's no cost for you to apply for the program. This is a federal government program certification. And what this does, we will provide you with the information on how to learn how to do business with the federal government. We have to make sure that you are staying in compliance. We will help you to participate in the free 7-day training vendors that we have to offer. We will help you to develop a good federal government capability statement. And other than that, this is an awesome program for you to apply for. And I will be your mentor for 9 years because this is a 9-year program. And with me working with you, there's no limit to the sky, and try to win government contracts. Thank you so much.
Bernice, thank you very much. Thank you. Well, at this point, we're going to have Carissa Mitchell. I've already given an introduction of her, but let me do it again. So Carissa Mitchell is Director of Contract Compliance with the State of Indiana, Division of Supplier and Diversity. So Carissa, can you please tell us about what you do? Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much, IBE, Deb, and KeyBank for this opportunity today. So I will not be before you long. I'm actually wearing our certification hat today, but that's perfectly fine. So I want to give you some insights into the Division of Supplier Diversity's MBE, WBE, and Indiana Veteran-Owned Small Business Program, which is also known as IVOSB. So for our program, and I have to let you know what our mission and vision is. So the mission and vision of the Division of Supplier Diversity is to promote and create equal opportunity for minority women and veteran business enterprises within the state of Indiana's procurement and contracting processes. So one thing to note is that the original MBE and WBE program was created in 1983 by a public law. So the Indiana Administrative Code, as well as the Indiana Code, again, our legal and our law is what establishes our program. In November of 2018, the Indiana Veteran-Owned Small Business Program moved over to our division for administration and oversight. And so we gladly added the veteran component to our mission and vision. So you heard some of our panelists already talk about these participation goals. So for the state of Indiana, we divvy out our participation goals based on 3 contract areas. That is construction, goods and services, and professional services. These particular goals were changed and adjusted based on the 2020 disparity study that concluded at the end of last year. And so this is something that we are extremely excited about because the participation goals had remained unchanged for over 10 years. So what this shows is that we, as the state of Indiana, have recognized that there have been some disparities that existed among minority and women business owners, and therefore we've increased our goals to help eradicate and diminish those particular barriers. Also, this shows that our marketplace is growing, and therefore the availability of certified firms in these areas, specifically goods and services as well as professional services, is also growing. So as we talk more about our MBE and WBE programs specifically, there are a couple of things that you would need to note in terms of eligibility. Specifically, ownership must be 51%, as some of our panelists have already discussed. That 51% must be to a qualifying member that identifies in the minority category or as a woman. Also, you must demonstrate control of the organization and also have United States citizenship. For the business itself, we do have a requirement that you must be in business for about 3 years. Sometimes we are able to waive that requirement if you're able to demonstrate substantial understanding of the industry for which you are seeking a certification, but you also have to provide additional information to demonstrate your expertise in that area. One thing that I want to note is that we have moved to an electronic certification as of February of this year. So we are no longer accepting any paper documentation. You must go to the Indiana Department of Administration Procurement Division to access the supplier portal. Once you access the supplier portal, obtain your bidder profile and bidder registration, then you will be able to complete our application process. For some individuals, there are quite a bit of questions that surround this ownership requirement and this 51%, specifically the minority groups that we adhere to for certification. So our minority groups have been defined by 13 CFR. That's a federal code and regulation. But also when we're looking at ownership, we want to understand how was this ownership interest acquired? What was the initial investment that went into gaining this 51% ownership? So that's really critical when it comes to applying for certification with our office. When we look at control, how involved are you in day-to-day operations, as well as long-term strategic growth for your organization? Does the qualifying member have hiring and firing authority, as well as is the qualifying member able to make financial decisions? When we look at our Indiana Veteran-Owned Small Business Program, again, we still see that there is the requirement for ownership, again, being 51%. There needs to be demonstration of control, and specifically for the Veteran-Owned Small Business Program, this would be the U.S. Veteran or on active duty. One thing to note is that this program, depending on if a firm is federally certified, they're able to use that federal certification to apply for our certification. And therefore, if that is the case, then your expiration or validity of your certification will be for about 3 years, whereas the state certified firms expire in 2 years. And so here's some additional information of the documentation that will be needed if you are a federally certified Indiana veteran-owned small business already. We would just need documentation of your federal certification letter, and as well as these various forms that we have listed on the screen here. However, if you are not a federally certified firm already, we will be looking for you to, of course, complete our online application, as well as supply your identification, DD-214 and or W-9. We would also like to reiterate that there are some non-Indiana-based firms that may meet the requirements to be an Indiana veteran-owned small business. Those particular requirements are identified here. And so if there is an out-of-state firm that is interested in getting this Indiana veteran-owned small business designation, you would have to demonstrate at least one of the 3 criteria that we have listed. That would be majority of your economic growth is going to Indiana residents, either in the form of payroll, that you're employing a huge number of Indiana residents, or that you're making significant capital investment in the state of Indiana. And so I will pause here and turn it back over to Deb, and we look forward to the discussion today.
Thank you, Bernice. Thank you. So this is all very exciting to me. We're going to look and see what the questions are, but this is absolutely exciting for me. My companies are all certified with all of you, except for Mid-States, working on that, have been involved with a lot of things that are going on with Mid-States. And Bernice, we're going to talk to as well, but we follow everything that you do. So very excited, excellent for company growth. And thank you so much for I want to say, first of all, to all of you in your due diligence and your patience in explaining about the certification and helping us to understand. It can be somewhat confusing because there's a city, there's a state, and all they're very similar in certain situations, but yet they have their differences. So we especially want to thank you for helping our companies grow and to reach our maximum potential by having this certification opportunity and all you do with regard to the outreach events you do and keeping us abreast of contracting opportunities. So first of all, I want to say thank you for that. So this is all very exciting to me. We're going to look and see what the questions are, but this is absolutely exciting for me. My companies are all certified with all of you, except for Mid-States, working on that, have been involved with a lot of things that are going on with Mid-States. And Vernice, we're going to talk to as well, but we follow everything that you do. So very excited, excellent for company growth. And thank you so much for I want to say, first of all, to all of you in your due diligence and your patience in explaining about the certification and helping us to understand. It can be somewhat confusing because there's a city, there's a state, and all they're very similar in certain situations, but yet they have their differences. So we especially want to thank you for helping our companies grow and to reach our maximum potential by having this certification opportunity and all you do with regard to the outreach events you do and keeping us abreast of contracting opportunities. So first of all, I want to say thank you for that. So let's go on to some of the questions that we have here. And here's a question: do you provide properties? So I'm not sure if that certification, if that refers to whether or not you certify certain businesses that do properties or real estate, not sure. So if that person would type in the question again to clarify that, we'll go on to the next one. So Joe, this is for you. How and where do I apply?
Well, for the city of Indianapolis, we ask that you go to indy.gov, indy.gov/OMWBD. Again, indy.gov/OMWBD. And before the end of the presentation here today, we'll have information in the chat box also. But everyone keep your pen and your paper handy. So good notes, because there's going to be some things coming at you that you're going to need to know. But again, indy.gov/OMWBD. You scroll down to the bottom, there's a block there where you can learn how to certify your business with our office.
Okay, absolutely, absolutely. The next question that we have, Joe, this is for you. And so here is the question, and is what is the exact name of the certification that you offer? So the exact name with the acronyms.
So you would be certified as either a minority, woman, veteran, or DOBE, which is different than the state's DBE program. And make sure that you know that distinction as a disabled owned business enterprise. It's possible that you could carry two different certifications. You could be minority and woman, as Deb is. You could be, actually, I had someone come in the other day, and she is a African-American woman who's a veteran and has disability from the military. She literally can have all four certifications if her certification goes through. So those are the different certifications. Yeah.
Okay, Joe, thank you. So let's go a little bit further, because you talked about DOBE, and that is with the City of Indianapolis certification. And here's the next question. And Derek, this is for you. What is the DBE, not DOBE, but DBE?
Good question. DBE stands for Disadvantaged Business Enterprise.
Okay, so would you just elaborate on that a little bit more when you talk about that kind of the criteria? Could you kind of go through that a bit more, please.
So once again, it stands for Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. And applicants who are eligible for this program are individuals who have been determined to be socially and economically disadvantaged. So socially disadvantaged, meaning that you are, you fall within a certain ethnic group, which the group has been defined by the SBA. And then economically disadvantaged, you've been determined not to be a millionaire. You've got that person net worth that's within the limit. You're considered to be a small business, that sort of thing. So you are an individual whose firm has been determined to be both socially and economically disadvantaged. And for this program, you have to fulfill both of those criteria. It can't be one or the other. It has to be both.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So what we see in the meantime, if you see that we have put the information in the chat about for the City of Indianapolis, Office of Minority Women Business Development, you will see that is in the chat. Also, there was a question about each of the organization's website. So if we could also make sure that's available. So once you look on the website, each of the website, the criteria is stated. And so you will have that information for you to go by. And as well as reaching out to individuals, they will be very glad to help you because they are this is what they do. And this is what they do very well in helping you to understand the program and understand the differences in the program. Vernice, this is for you. So here's a question. What is the name of the 9-year program? And also, they would like to have a link for the 9-year program.
The 9-year program is called 8A Business Development Program. So when they come out with the 8A Business Development Program, that's basically you are qualified and approved for your 8A certification. So it's SBA 8, the number 8, the letter A, Business Development Program. And that is found on our website, which is www.sba.gov.
Okay. Thank you, Vernice. So again, this is another program with opportunity for you to look at the certification. You want to look at the link and you want to read about the program. And then Vernice would be very willing and able to help you to understand the value of the certification of this 9-year program designed to help build capacity and experience and to take your firm to the next level. Vernice, do I need to say any more about that one at this particular point?
No, I will be your mentor for 9 years.
Okay, that's wonderful. So let's just, I want to talk just a minute about that. So Vernice, so in other words, you'll be walking hand in hand once a company is able to get certified with their business owner. You will walk hand in hand with them with regard to to experience the advantage of that certification. So can you explain just a little bit about walking hand in hand as they're through that program?
Once you be approved for the 9 years, we offer various types of 7J training that will help you to learn how to do business with the federal government, how to bid on federal government opportunities, how to write up a proposal. And with these hand in hand that we provide you, I will oversee to make sure and I will try to help you to win those federal government contracts. You have to remember, I'm the federal government side. So anything that SBA does, we're the ones that you must be registered in SAMS, which stands for Service Award Management System, in order to do business with the federal government. So I will be your hand in hand for 9 years.
Okay, Excellent. Wow, Vernice, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Question from Julie. Can minority service organizations be eligible to certify with all of these organizations, i.e. consulting, business coaching? I tell you what, Carlisa, would you answer that question for us, please?
Oh, yes, I would be happy to answer. I would say absolutely. Please get certified with not just one certification, but with all the certification organizations that have been presented here. One thing that I will say is that for the state of Indiana, there are a lot of professional services contracts that are out for bid. And so I would highly encourage you that if you have questions specifically as to, what type of contracts are going out for bid, what type of RFPs are out for bid, certainly go to the in.gov procurement website. That would be in.gov/IDOA/procurement. There you will be able to find a list of current opportunities that are out for bid. It'll also give you some information as to how to access active contracts, because that will also give your business some understanding as to what particular professional services opportunities may be out there, specifically within the state of Indiana arena. But as I reiterated earlier, definitely apply for all of the organizations that are presented here today.
Okay, so you said something that folk might not understand when you talked about opportunities, many RFPs. Can you just explain that? So since we're talking about all these acronyms this morning, want to make sure we have a really good understanding of these acronyms.
Yes, absolutely. So RFPs stand for requests for proposals. And so within the state, there are different types of solicitations or bids that are executed. So you have your negotiated bids where a state agency may be just looking for a particular good rather than a service. When you have a request for proposal, that means that a state agency has identified that they have a need. It's a need that they cannot fulfill internally within the state, and therefore they are looking for outside organizations or businesses to fulfill that particular need. Now, that need may be a professional service in which there may be some substantial opportunities that are presented there. Also, we have what we call requests for services, or an RFS. And how you can differentiate an RFP from an RFS is that with an RFP, there are very strict standards and parameters for what the state agency is actually looking for. But when you're presented with an RFS, or the request for service, it still is a professional service opportunity or contract that will result from that solicitation. However, there's a little bit more flexibility. The state has identified that, yes, we have this need, but we're not necessarily sure how we want this need to be met. And so therefore, they would be looking for your organization or a vendor to provide a custom solution for that state's needs.
Okay, so Luther, would you talk about what your service offerings would be specifically? And this is a question that I want to direct to you about, and the question is, what about private parties that offer to help you get certified and want to be paid for that? So I'd like for you, each of you, to answer that, because we've got the various agencies here, and I'm a business owner, and I'm, working on the business. And so what would be your recommendation for that?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of the information, if you, again, going back to what I said in my presentation, and doing your research is huge. So I definitely still recommend that. As far as that question, we actually, again, have the handbook that was created, and so I recommend going through that as well. That that's going to give you a wealth of information from all the different certifying bodies, from NDOT to the state of Indiana to the city of Indianapolis. So you're going to have all that information from me. I would say, from my experience in doing this a very long time, that it is time consuming. There's no doubt about that. But a piece of advice that I would say is if you have all your information, if you have all your corporate documentation, your birth certificate, and all that good information, yes, it's time consuming, but I truly believe that you can do it yourself. I'm not trying to take money out of anybody else's pockets, but it could be done by itself. But it is time consuming, but it goes back to is it something that you want? If it's something that you want, then you're going to make the time to do it for yourself. I know many of business owners that have done the certification on their own. So
Okay.
kind of my
Okay.
answer.
Thank you. Joe,
Mhm.
I see Joe shaking his head and,
Oh,
okay,
yeah. So here's my thought on that. As Luther said, have your documents with us. There's a checklist. I'm probably sure there's a checklist with the state and mid-states. Bottom line, if the person you're paying is submitting your documents, we still have to go back to you as the business owner to ask for documents. So what has that person done for you if they forgot something that was supposed to be sent over? So just something to keep in mind. If you are in business and you have your documentation, just as Luther said, there's no reason. Yes, it is cumbersome. Yes, it will take time, but there's no reason why you can't do this yourself. And I would be very wary of paying someone to do something that you can do yourself.
Okay, thank you. So there's a note in here and it says, Luther, now is there a workshop tomorrow that Mid-States is having?
Yeah, so I do a workshop every third Thursday of the month, but I'm going to do it tomorrow, and I'll give you my email in a second. But basically what this workshop is it's pretty much the same presentation that I did a few minutes ago, but with the exception of I go pretty heavy into the application, how to fill out the application. So one of the things that I failed to say earlier, like is we're all electronic, so there's no hard copies as far as the paperwork, but I dive pretty heavy into the application and to show you what we're looking for, and I also dive heavy into the checklist, the checklist that with the, with any other certifying bodies, if you can go through that checklist and without answer all your questions, that's going to be the best part for everybody. So to answer your question, yes, I have that tomorrow. So what I do is if you send me your email, if you email me, I'll send you a link to the workshop. It's my name, Luther Taylor at midstatesmsdc.org.
Okay, so this is for the Mid-States, but I know that there are other certification workshops that the city has and the state as well. So you want to make sure that you're on the lookout for this information. One of the huge advantages of getting certified is that you will get the NDOT newsletters, the city of Indianapolis, the state of Indiana, Mid-States. You will get information, SBA. This information comes to you so you know what the opportunities are, so you know what's going on within those agencies, because it is impossible as a business owner for you to pull all these resources together. And this is an excellent way to have your certification in helping with these resources. Now, there was a question that is coming up about the exact paperwork that is needed. So can we go quickly through that? And there's references on the website. So Joe, can you just, Luther talked about a checklist. IDOA has a checklist. The state has a checklist. I'm sure NDOT has one. Joe, I know you got the checklist. It's on the website. Can you just talk briefly about that checklist?
Sure. As I'm pulling up the checklist. So there are actually, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's the main checklist, everything from resume to birth certificate of owners, ethnic documentation, passport, state issued ID card or driver's license. There's a whole host of things that we lay out. And then, so there's the top part, there's bank authorization, signatory cards, your business plan, schedule of salaries, officers, managers, owners, directors, et cetera. Then we get in, are you a sole proprietorship? Excuse me, are you a partnership or joint venture? Are you a corporation? Are you an LLC? Are you a disabled owned business enterprise? Or are you a veteran business enterprise? So there is a whole host of things. So to ask the question, so what is required? What is the checklist for us? And I would assume even with mid-states in the state, that there are a whole host of different things that we're all asking for. Some of them, transfer over. If I'm not this now, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we're not on electronic certification with the city. But I just came from a meeting this morning, and it's on its way sooner than later, we hope. So that's the upper hand that the folks at mid-states and the state have. Thank you for that. So, but again, some of these documents carry over. So just keep that in mind, and make sure that you go through. And if you don't understand something, call the certifying agency and say, hey, you asked for XYZ and I don't understand why. Well, then someone can explain that. But make sure that you include everything that is asked, because then that makes sure that your certification happens in a more than timely manner.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And so as you are the business owner, you would already have this information in your possession, your taxes, your passport, your driver's. So all of you already have this, and you would have this in your possession. So it's just a matter of just putting it together, and to those agencies that have those online, that documentation online. Thank you, Joe. We're looking forward to what's coming from the city.
So am I.
And so here's a question about the best way to set up your business structure. If you're starting a box truck business, what certifications are needed for this? So does anybody want to answer that question? I know that there's a question about an LLC and all that. You want to make, that's something you want to talk to your attorney about, but would someone want to answer that question as to how that might fit what you've seen in your experience? Somebody has a truck or in the transportation industry. Derek, would you
Sure.
answer that, please?
Yeah, I can answer that. So
Thank you.
we certify a wide range of business and business types. In the area of a box truck, you want to look at how can your services benefit one of the transit authorities. Would Indigo potentially have an opportunity where they need parts, supplies, or something delivered? Is this something that the airport would look at? You've got to do your research to find out where you could carve that type of opportunity out of. But as far as getting certified, we do certify firms that offer box truck services. Additionally, and this goes for any type of firm getting certified, not only do you want to narrow your contract opportunities with NDOT or Indigo or the airport, you want to look into the companies who actually do business with us and find out individually what services they potentially can take advantage of. So say for instance, I mean, with NDOT, we've got the big contractors such as Walsh and Reith Riley and E&B and things like that who do our highway construction services. Reaching out to them to find out if they've got an opportunity for you is a great place to start. And additionally, the companies who are providing services to E&B, Walsh, Reith Riley, those type of businesses, it's a marketing opportunity for you to reach out to them to find out where your services can be provided. So don't just narrow your search or your business development. Don't narrowly do that. Branch out. Look at all the other vendors who actually do business from a whole with all of us.
So I just want to put a plug in for certification. The value certification is there are events that come up all through the year that give you an opportunity for networking so that you could talk with these various contractors and to find out what their needs are. And so I know there's one coming up with the city, and it's their end of year forum, which is a great way to get information. I know the state just had their event. And so we want to make sure that you understand the value of this is the reason why certification is important. So here's a question about the SBA limits for the NAICS codes. And Bernice, this would be for you. So it's saying that the NAICS code of this business is the limit, the SBA limit is an average of 16.5 million over the 3 years. Can you please explain if there is an annual adjustment for inflation and how we can find out what the number is each year?
Each year, thank you. So what we're doing right now, the small business owners, they have a choice to choose between a 3 or 5 year average. So that was back in 2018. So that individual had a choice to make a determination on how they want their annual revenue sales to be. Now, as of coming up in January 2020, all small businesses will be based on a 5 year average.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. Here's another question. As an asphalt maintenance company in South Bend and Elkhart region, is it okay to apply for all certifications or just MBE, IVOSBE, and DBE? The company was established in 2020. So let's, Derek, would you answer that, since that's the state and it has to do with the NDOT certification?
My answer to that would be, I would encourage you to position yourself with all of them, because each certifying entity or each of us, we've got different markets. We have different opportunities, and then certification is only to be considered as a positioning tool. Like I said, personally, I think you should position yourself with all of them. And then one of the things I used to mention in certification workshops and that sort of thing, the old adage that it's better to be positioned for an opportunity and not have it than to have the opportunity and not be positioned for it. And that's the way you should really look at certification. It is a positioning tool. So I would encourage you to pursue all the certifications first.
Excellent. I think another old adage would be, don't put all your eggs in one basket. There are many of opportunities that you want to take advantage. Here's another one, and it's what type of business financial information is required. So that was one, financial. So someone want to ask that question? Joe, I know you've talked a little bit about that. So Joe, can I just pitch that to you?
Yeah, you certainly can. So we're going to ask for your corporate and, in some cases, personal taxes going back 3 years. One of the things we want to make sure is that for us anyway, the city of Indianapolis, that you're headquartered and domiciled in the state of Indiana. So you can be in South Bend. You don't have to be in Indianapolis, Marion County. You can be in Evansville, Richmond, wherever, Terre Haute. You can be anywhere, but we want to make sure that you're headquartered and domiciled in the state of Indiana. So your business and your personal taxes help us tell that story, so that when we're certifying you, that someone comes up and says, hey, they shouldn't be certified. Well, these are the records we have. So those are the single biggest things that we ask for. Not sure about the state, not sure about mid-states, but my guess is they're probably some of the same things that we ask for.
And I'll say additionally to Joe, we also ask for your financials. So we're asked for your income statement, your balance sheet, and a statement of cash flow as well to you see the position of your company.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Now, here's a question, Bernice, this is yours. Do you have a goal of going, let's see, I think, okay, do you have a goal of going after a 8A loan funding to qualify for this? In other words, do you have to go for 8A loan funding in order to qualify for the 8A certification?
I think we're getting two eggs confused, or two balls confused. SBA do have a 7A loan program. And we do have a 8A certified program, federal government program. So when you're talking about the 8A program, that's more on the certified program, which will help you to learn how to do business with the federal government. Now, the 7A, that is one of SBA loan programs that we do have. So that's two different subjects there.
Okay. Thank you, Bernice. Thank you. Here's a question. As a transitional living LLC for women only in reentry, can you help me to get certified with Recovery Works? So, Joe, would you be familiar with who Recovery Works is?
I am not familiar with Recovery Works, but let me say this just as a general overall. You know, when someone comes and says, hey, we make widgets and we want to become certified with the city of Indianapolis, the first thing I would say is, hey, the city doesn't buy widgets. Here's the different commodities, the different things that we buy, the different services that we contract for. And this is where your certification is going to help you. Same thing with the state. There's certain things, there are probably several different things that the state buys, procures, does contracts for that the city doesn't. So being certified with them may be better than being certified with the city. When you get into some of those things, so like, treatment or what was the actual name of the company again, Deb?
The name of the company is Recovery Works.
Okay, so the city of Indianapolis, I'm not aware of working with folks that do recovery type counseling, but the state may have something like that. That's where you're going to have to do your research and determine which certification is right for you, because one may be better than the other, one may not be necessary. And same thing, we were just talking about box trucks, the city of Indianapolis doesn't do any transportation type stuff anymore, but the state might have opportunities through some of the folks that do have larger contracts with the state. So as several people have said, you're going to have to do your research. You're going to have to ask the questions, do your homework to determine what certification is going to be good for you.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. And what I always think is important is, with the exception of mid-states, all of these on their certification website, there is a directory. NDOT has one, and city has one. state IDOA, you can always go to that directory and look and see who your potential competitors might be. And look and see what areas, what trades of work they're in. That is a really good way to watch. And I know with NDOT, once you're certified with NDOT, and I think probably in other ways, perhaps on their website, there's always information where you can find out who the new DBE companies are. So that's a very, very good resource, I believe.
Very well put, Debbie. If I can add,
Yes.
In addition to that, not only look at those DBEs or those vendors on that listing as your competition, also look at them as business partners, because they can potentially create a partnership or a joint venture with these firms to build your capacity so that you can compete on specific things out in the industry. So not only are they your competition, but they could potentially be business partners with you as well.
Excellent. Kalisha, I see you're shaking your head. Did you have a comment you'd like to make?
Yes, certainly. So I am in complete agreement with both what Joe and Derek had previously stated. Number one, about doing your research. I also wanted to add, with the Recovery Works program, I understand that that is a family and social services administration contractor opportunity. You definitely want to contact the Division of Mental Health and Addiction to get more information about that particular Recovery Works program. And if your business is a nonprofit organization seeking certification, you have to be very careful to see if the nonprofit business is eligible for certification, depending on the organization that you're looking to get certified with. And so also, in addition, just to add on to what Derek had discussed about viewing other businesses as potential partners, one thing about the state of Indiana's MBE, WB, and Indiana Veteran-Owned Small Business Program is that this program also allows you to count toward the participation goals for the casinos, as well as for the state universities. So there are 7 public universities that adhere to state of Indiana's participation goals. So that is an additional avenue and potential business stream for you if you do your research about what opportunities those state educational institutions are looking for, as well as what the Gaming Commission may be looking for as well. So I just wanted to add on to the discussion.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Hey, Debbie.
Yes, Vernice.
I want to continue that conversation far as on the federal government side. Remember, in order to do business with the federal government, you have to be registered in SAMS, which is sam.gov. And with that, that's where you can find all the federal government opportunities that's out there that you can bid on. Free information, you can do this yourself. And also you can go to usaspending.gov to find out who had that contract before and how much it's worth. So those are some of the information that on the federal government side can help you to do business with the federal government, knowing your partners, what they buy in, knowing what you can sell to them. So as everyone said, every certification is wonderful, but you got to learn how to market it to the vendors who's going to buy your goods from you. So that's how come with the federal government. You have to know your NAICS code, which is the 6-digit NAICS code, to find out what federal agency is buying your goods. So that's a little point of information good to have too.
Okay, Vernice, that was really good information. Thank you. So all in all, in other words, there is research that is required. And it is not a quick research. It is a thorough research and investigation that you want to make sure that you are on point with, and also reach out to the various agencies so that this is not something you're trying to do on your own, that you're getting the information that's needed and getting the correct information. So here's a question about some common mistakes or obstacles that have been prevented applicants from being approved. Joe, can you just give a couple of examples?
A couple that kind of come to mind is, where a spouse owns a business, the husband owns a business, and all of a sudden the wife becomes the expert and they try to get certified as a woman-owned business. That just never works out. And I see everyone shaking their head. That's one of the biggest things that we see, and folks get turned down for certification. You know, minority-owned business, making sure that the minority is the majority shareholder of the business, minimum 51%, and that there's not this is probably not the most professional term, but smoke and mirrors.
Okay.
We don't like smoke and mirrors. We want to see that it's legitimate and that it's done right and that there's history there. And so sometimes people go out of their way to try to get certified when at the end of the day, they know deep down that they can't get certified. So those have a couple that kind of come to mind.
Okay. Derek?
Well, I can echo some of what Joe just referenced. Certainly control. Things that are in the area of control tend to bring things to our awareness. In addition to that, I would say when it comes to the ownership of the company, one of the things we ask for is to help us understand the initial investment of the firm. What was initially contributed to obtain your majority ownership? If that response cannot be backed up by supportive documentation, it will lead to a potential denial. So you can't tell us that you provided or you contributed $100,000 towards your ownership and you can't back that up. Additionally to that, what we run into are firms who are historically owned by majority individuals, non-disadvantaged individuals who transfer ownership just for the purposes of certification. And they understand that there's the initial investment question that we will ask. However, the applicant is telling us that they're buying $100 million company for $100. Those types of scenarios don't fly. You know, if your contribution toward ownership is not proportional to the value of the company, it will lead to a potential denial.
Okay. Thank you, Derek. Thank you. Carlissa, you were shaking your head as well.
Yes, I absolutely agree with both what Joe and Derek had previously stated. And oddly enough, some things that are sometimes glanced over is the expiration dates on driver's license or passports. So our certification is for U.S. citizens. So you must be able to demonstrate that you are a U.S. citizen via passport or naturalization certificate or your birth certificate. And we do look at the dates that are on the passports as well as the dates that are on the driver's licenses. And so that one little thing can, prohibit your application from being completed in a timely fashion. So just want to make sure that if you are seeking certification, making sure that your identification documents are unexpired and that you actually have maybe a year or so left on those identification documents. So just in case that we are continuing to evaluate your application and it's getting close to that 90-day time frame, that you're not at risk of anything being kind of taken back or postponed any further. So
Excellent. Luther.
I will agree with everything that everyone else said. One of the things that with us that's a little bit different is Reed Degree, we look at 100% on the ethnicity. So we rely on the birth certificate. And so on the birth certificate, we want to see that on your birth certificate, your ethnicity. And so a lot of time it's not on there. So we have to kind of backtrack. But I'd say for us, again, everything that they were saying is true. But if I had to say something else, it would be that birth certificate piece and trying to prove their ethnicity.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mhm.
Here's a question that's come up, and that is whether or not a nonprofit organization can take advantage of that 8A certification. And I see that Vernice is not on the call at this time. So I think this is something that perhaps we could try to answer at a later date, and especially to contact Vernice, the information that was supplied with regard to that on the website for SBA. If you could get that information, and you will be able to find your answer out from that. And here's some question: what types of professional service business should consider certification? Carlisha, you talked about that earlier. So you want to just hit some of the high ones quickly, please?
Sure. So there are pretty substantial opportunities. I keep using the word substantial, but that's because I see these contracts that come over to our division for review quite often. But when you look at information technology opportunities, there are opportunities in the areas of consulting, whether it be for temporary staffing in clinical or medical, also opportunities in the areas of marketing, public relations, just those are the ones that kind of come to mind. FSSA has one of the largest spends for the state of Indiana. So taking a look at some of the contracts that FSSA executes and administers, that would be a good indication of the professional services that are being asked for and required from the state. Also, there are quite a bit of technology-based upgrades that are upcoming within the state, modernizations. So there are quite a bit of opportunities there for independent verification type firms, again, getting more into the information technology areas.
Excellent, thank you. And so Patricia, she does educational consulting for students and families going to college. So it sounds like you've answered that question as to what certification might be really good for her, and that is connecting with the state through IDOA for the certification. And here is a question here. It says, I'm a minority who will be buying majority shares in a DBE certified company. What is the process to remain certified during the transition, or what do I need to do to make sure the company does not lose its certification during the purchase period?
That's a very good question. So the key thing to think about here is, or know, is that once the majority ownership changes hands from the original certification, that certification is going to be put on suspension until the new information on the majority owner is reviewed and determined to be eligible for the program. So as the new owner buying into this program, there is nothing that you can do to make sure that the firm stays certified. Like I said, once the ink is on the that transaction, that DBE firm is no longer considered a DBE until we can review all the information that's been submitted and we determine that the new owner is found eligible for the program.
Okay, Derek, thank you very much. We are about to wrap up, and before we wrap up, there is a question, and they're asking me, Mrs. Oates, do you offer any mentoring opportunities for a woman getting started in the dump truck business? And the answer to that is yes. I will offer direction, provide resources, and I will also get you connected to these great people here within their agencies to find out how you can expand your business. And so you can also reach out to me. As we get ready to wrap up, I want to, first of all, thank you all. You have done just an excellent job in just what you've answered. I have, again, learned so much, and I see how you all are just so in sync. And we are so glad to have all of you in our state of Indiana working on our behalf. And so as we conclude our session today, I want to say one thing, and that is certifications, research. Once you get certified, make sure you stay on those recertifications. Everybody's shaking their head. Be proactive, be intentional, put it on your calendar, put it in your database on however you manage it. And that way you'll be in good shape, and everybody will be happy about that. So I would like to thank Corlicia, thank you. To Derek, to Joe, Vernice, and to Luther, thank you for participating in this afternoon's session. We would like for you to visit the Minority Business Series webpage at the IndianaBlackExpo.com for additional information and resources that will help you with your business. We thank you very much. It has been so good to see my friends. So good. Thank you. May you all just be blessed. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you.
Thank you as well, Debbie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you so much.
All right.